All right, everybody, thank you guys for joining us today. This is the USDA Beginning Farmer and Rancher in the Know session. We've got Farm Service Agency, Risk Management Agency, Rural Development, and NRCS here today. We've also got Business Impact Northwest, and we should have Share Farm joining us here at the end. So we'll go through, we'll start out with FSA and kind of go down the list and talk about some relevant things that we've got going on. A lot of what the Beginning Farmer and Rancher group does is try to get you guys from point A to point B, because a lot of times with the federal government, that can be difficult. So using these sessions and the breakout sessions thereafter to, ask questions for your specific situation is what we're really looking for. We want to let you guys use this time to not only talk to Maya, talk to Vince, but also talk to each one of the agencies and see how we can help you better, or maybe help somebody else you know of better. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Sorry, guys, 1 second here. Just going to learn how to run a PowerPoint presentation is all I got to do. Okay. All right. Did you guys see that PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I can see it. It's not in presentation mode. I can see like the slides on the left and the rest of the PowerPoint application.
Okay. Well,
If you're using two screens, that might be why.
I've got a ton of them up here. I won't lie to y'all. It's actually kind of impressive. No, it's not. Okay, let me do this real quick. Okay. Let's see how this goes. How's that?
I can see the presentation mode that's like the back end with the notes on the right side.
Oh, that's okay. There's no notes. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm always the best when it comes to sharing screens. That's obviously a lie. How about this one?
That's all good.
Perfect.
Love it. Love it. All right. So if we didn't do this without any technical difficulties, it wouldn't be nearly as fun. So thanks for the patience, guys. I'm Derek Johnson. I'm the Farm Loan Officer here in Malheur County, and I'm the Oregon Beginning Farmer and Rancher Outreach Coordinator. So if you guys have any strange questions about what an agency can do for you, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm going to jot through this pretty quick just because we do have a bunch of information to pack into the session today. So we'll just jump right into it. First thing I can do is basically two things. I can help you operate. I can help finance you through an operating loan, through a term loan to help you buy cattle, equipment, or improve some of the real estate you have. And I can also help you buy real estate. Now, one of the things about bigger operating loans and bigger farm ownership loans is you got to have experience. So on an operating loan, I can go up to $400,000, and you got to have a year of experience. For a farm ownership loan, I can go up to $600,000, but you got to have 3 years of experience. And I can substitute out two of those for qualifying education, military service, or substantial management experience. And what that means is if you've acted as owner operator or acted in that position, we can use that experience to substitute out a year. Now, it doesn't mean if you worked on a farm for 50 years that I can substitute out 50 years of farming experience. It only counts as one. So those are the maximum amounts, but what we have available outside of that helps you get to that point. A lot of the issues that I have with beginning farmers and some of the programs we have available are, how do I get started? And so we'll jump to this next slide here in a minute and talk about how that's possible. But one of the cool things about the farm ownership loans is I get a lot of beginning farmers that walk in and ask, how do I get land? That's the only way I can farm. I have to buy land. That's not necessarily the truth. A lot of times what we can do is we can start by renting, or we can create a lease to own agreement and kind of make a creative financing situation to get us from point A to point B. But if you do have the 3 years of experience, or have 2 years substitute out, and then a year of experience on top of that, you could be eligible for beginning farmer down payment loan. What that does is we basically joint finance a purchase. So if you put down 5%, FSA would finance 45% of the purchase price, and the third party lender, like, if somebody wants to carry the note, we could do that. Or, the bank that you work with now, if they wanted to do it, we could work with them as well. And it only goes up to $667,000. It's $1,000. So you can only get $300,000 from me, but it's another good way to take and lessen all the expenses you have when you first start out. The interest rates on the beginning farmer down payment loan is 1.5%, and that's the case. Joint financing is a little different. This does kind of sound like a joint finance arrangement, but it's not. Joint financing is a little bit different. We'll get into the rates and everything here in a minute, but overall, that's what FSA can do. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And we have other disaster programs available, but I'll have Laura talk about those here in the end. So I mentioned getting experience. It's easier than it may seem. We have microloans available, and what those are is basically a lessened amount. It's a loan that you can only go up to $50,000, but you can use a mentor instead of a year of history to qualify for this. So if you were to come through, and let's say, mom or dad or uncle or brother or somebody, they're working on a farm, and they say, hey, I've got a little bit of land you can run your cattle on, or I've got a little bit of land you can grow some hay on. Even get some money to do it, I'd be willing to help you out. If your brother or family member, whoever that mentor was, if they're willing to sign an agreement that says, yeah, I'll help them out, we can use that as a year of experience and get you qualified for for a loan up to 50 grand. I can use this for farm ownerships loan as well, for real estate loans, but you still do have to have that 3 years of history. So a microloan is really something to help you get that experience, something to help you finance a smaller purchase when you're in the beginning of everything. Now, even before we get to that point, if you're between the ages of 10 and 20, I can get you a youth loan. Now, this isn't something that anybody can just walk in and ask for a youth loan. Any 10-year-old can walk in. They have to be a part of a youth organization like FFA, 4-H, or tribal youth, and the parents have to co-sign. So it's not something you're gonna just get caught out of left field with, like, oh, how do we have this $5,000 loan here? Oh, it's our sons, it's our daughters. No, you'll know before any of that happens. So again, there's always a different way. There's always a creative way to get to yes. So using the FSA and how we work and what we can finance is paramount to what you guys are doing. So when you talk to your loan officer, when you go into your county office, because that's really your first step, and talk to whomever is going to be working on your loan, make sure they understand that you're open to being creative if you have to, because yes, we may not meet criteria that are quote unquote essential for approving or disapproving a loan, but if we work towards it, we can always get there. So I have some information here. I'll post this up in the chat, the slideshow itself, and it has links to everything here. But going over it, microloans are at the operating loan rate of 4.5%. Same thing for direct operating loans. Direct farm ownership loans or real estate loans are at 4.875%. Beginning farmer down payment loans are at 1.5%. Again, that's a crazy great rate. And joint financing rates, which would be where I finance 50% of it, a third-party lender, a bank, or somebody else finances 50%, will get you 2.875%. Now, a much more complex, and I don't really want to get into it right now because it'd take me a while to unpack, but when we get into the breakout sessions, feel free to ask, is guaranteed loans. This isn't something I can do for you. This isn't something you can do, and this isn't something a bank can apply for you for. But they're a separate opportunity that we work through ag lenders to provide to all of you. So now with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Laura. I've got Laura Hall from Klamath County FSA on, and she's going to go over a few of the programs. Are you all ready, Laura?
I am, Derek. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So as Derek said, I'm the county director here in Klamath. I'm also currently covering Jackson and Josephine. And I also serve on the Oregon Civil Rights Committee. So that's a little bit of my background. We are kind of two agencies squished into one. So there's a programmatic side. A big portion of the programmatic side is your record keeping. So we are the ones who house your farm information, your personal information, your payment eligibility information. So when you first get started, either with us or NRCS, chances are NRCS would send you my way anyway. That is where we'll set up your record. We establish a farm number, you as an individual or an entity, depending on how you're farming or ranching. And that's kind of how you get your foot in the door and get connected with us. From there, you can opt to start getting our emails. So when programs come out, you're in the know. So some of our programs, most of our programs are disaster based. So we come in after something has gone terribly wrong. Usually in our region, it's drought. We have a lot of livestock programs that are triggered by drought, but we also have some crop programs, which is that non-insured crop disaster assistance program you see there. And that covers crops that cannot be covered by federal crop insurance. So very similar mechanisms. We mostly see grazing insurance in our region. We also have the livestock forage program, which is commonly known as the drought program. And that helps offset feed costs during times of drought so that you can continue to feed your animals. Emergency livestock assistance program covers feed transportation, water transportation, grazing loss during fire, all sorts of things. We also have conservation programs separate from NRCS. They're really individualized, so depending on your situation or what you're trying to do with your property is really whether you'd be interested in that. Part of your record keeping is the acreage reporting, which is also listed there, and that goes hand in hand with most programs. So every year you have to tell us what you have on the ground, and that also helps us keep you guys up to date with what might be most applicable to you. That is my very broad overview. Is there anything else specifically you wanted me to touch on, Derek?
Not right now. That's perfect. Farm programs is a mixed bag. There's a lot going on. There's always something new going on. So definitely join us in the breakout sessions, and you can grill Laura harder on any questions you guys might have.
Yes, there are a lot of different avenues you can go down, especially as a new producer, depending on what your operation is doing. Otherwise, it's an overwhelming amount of information. And as Derek says, it changes quite rapidly. So unlike farm loan, which is a little more consistent in its rules and programs, we generally now have at least 1 or 2 new programs a year.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you, Laura. I do appreciate it. I'm going to stop sharing and just cross my fingers. I can figure out how to share my screen now. We're going to jump down to the Risk Management Agency. Are you on, Anna?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see if I can't run
perfect.
your slideshow poorly. I think I can do it well, but sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
All right.
So while you're getting that set up, just a little bit about me. I'm Anna Griffin, and I have been with the Risk Management Agency for about 8.5 years now. And we're set up a little bit differently than the other agencies in that we actually have a regional office. So our region is, so we're based in the Spokane regional office, and we cover Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska, believe it or not. So that is, and here we go. We've got the presentation. Perfect. Okay. So before I begin, I just want to go over really quickly the disclaimer with you. So the purpose of the following material is to promote awareness of risk management concepts and to highlight USDA's risk management products, features, benefits, and availability. This material does not change the content or the meaning of current policy provisions, filed actuarial documents, or approved procedures. Okay, next slide. So here's just a little bit of a map. As I said before, we have regional offices, and RMA's vision is to secure the future of agriculture by providing world-class risk management tools to rural America. Next slide. And again, I'm from the Spokane Regional Office, and we administer the federal crop insurance programs in Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, and we provide outreach to help farmers with risk management tools such as we're doing today. Next slide. RMA is responsible for developing and maintaining federal crop insurance policies. This includes determining the rates, yields, and prices for each crop at the county level every year. RMA is also in charge of compliance to prevent fraud or abuse. Private insurance companies and agents are responsible for selling insurance policies to farmers and settling their claims. The federal government subsidizes the premiums to reduce the cost of crop insurance and reinsures the private insurance companies to share the cost of the claims. Next slide. Federal crop insurance provides protection from production loss, price decline, or a combination of both for individual commodities. There are production and revenue plans of insurance, which are based on a farmer's actual production history. Area plans of insurance that are based on averages in an area, like by county. And then the Farm Service Agency, as we heard before, has the Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program, known as NAP, that's available in counties where RMA crop insurance is not available for a particular crop. Next slide. So why should a person consider getting federal crop insurance? It may help to stay in business after a bad weather event or low production year. The government subsidizes the premium to make it more affordable, and it provides some financial stability and may improve access to credit. Next slide. Production-based policies insure against yield losses due to natural causes, such as adverse weather, wildlife, insects, and disease. If the harvested plus any appraised production is less than the yield insured, the producer is paid an indemnity based on the difference. Revenue policies provide protection against price decline or increase or a combination of both, in addition to yield losses. Projected and harvest prices are used to establish your coverage and to determine whether you have a loss. There is additional premium cost for this added coverage. Next slide. There are 4 phases of the crop insurance cycle each year. The insurance plan, level of coverage, and price are selected when you submit an application. It is important to know the sales closing and cancellation dates. These are deadlines for buying or canceling your policy. There's also a date for reporting how many acres of the crops you plant to determine your premium. You have to provide a notice of loss to start the claim process. RMA may make program changes prior to the next year's contract change date. Next slide. So this is a screenshot of our RMA's website. So you see on the top left-hand side, I have our address. It's just rma.usda.gov. And then I have circled in red at the top, on the top bar, the tools. And if you click on that down arrow, you'll see all of those different things come up. The one circled in red that's bolder red is the agent locator. And this is how a producer can find an agent in their area. So when you're searching for an agent, go ahead and click on that agent locator button on our website. And then the next slide, I'll kind of show you how what that will look like for you when you click on that. So it will bring up this next slide, which gives information about the agent locator. And then circled there in red, you'll find a hyperlink that says find local insurance agents with the RMA agent locator. So you would go ahead and click on that one again. And then the next slide, I've got what it will look like. So as you go into the agent locator, you'll want to type in either a zip code or an address or a place. And then once you hit the search button, you have a whole bunch of filters that you can use in order to filter it by different options. So you can sort by distance, so how far away an agent might be located. If an agent specializes in specific livestock or any particular crop, something like that as a specialty. You can also sort by languages. So when you go to the agent locator and you click on that blue tab that says more languages, you'll see that there are quite a number of different languages that you can sort the information by. And then of course, remember that all of the languages won't necessarily be available to you locally, but you do have that distance option that you can select no limit, or how far away you want to go. And then you can also sort by specific agent names or an agency name. So and then of course it will also give you where the agent is located. So that is a very an easy way of finding an agent there on our website, and they are the ones who will work with you as the producer to purchase the insurance policies and to work with you in order to do all of that information for getting crop insurance through the federal crop insurance program. So with that, I'm going to move on. So next slide. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is what we call the actuarial information browser. So if you want to just kind of take a look and see what's already available in your county, we do have options that I'll go over after this regarding requesting insurance that's not currently available in your county. But this is kind of a handy tool that we have on our website that can get you more information about what's currently offered in your county. So again, if you're at our RMA website at the very beginning site, you have that same tab that's called Tools. So on the left-hand side, you have the agent locator, but if you click on the actuarial information browser, or actuarial info browser as it's called, click on that link, and then that will bring up, and then just have this next slide, that will bring up this window right here. And so the easiest way of actually figuring out what is available in your county, you kind of want to manipulate this just a little bit. So it will automatically come up with these, and I have it circled in red there in the middle. It'll come up with these 5 different options, and those are changeable. So you don't have to search by commodity. I recommend a specific way of filtering to get the information that you want. So each of those little boxes that have those numbers in them, they're selectable. So what you do is just with your cursor, you can select, and this is how I would do it. So I would keep number 1 the same as the reinsurance year, but for number 2, I would change that to commodity year, because for the vast majority of the time in our region, the commodity year is the same year as the insurance year, as the reinsurance year. So you would use reinsurance year first, and then you could search number 2, input commodity year. And then the next thing that I would make for number 3 would actually be state and county, because you want to really see what's available for your own state. So you change number 3 to state and county. And again, all you have to do is use your mouse and highlight. Right now it says 5. So you just highlight that 5 and you change it to a 3, and that will change the order for you. So if you, again, search by reinsurance year, then commodity year, then state and county, then commodity, and then the insurance plan will come up after you select a commodity. So what that looks like, I have on the next slide. So you see here, I've changed the order. So this is a really easy way. If you select right here, I just, for example purposes, I just put in Umatilla County. So you select Umatilla or whatever county you're in there in Oregon. And then you can search by actual commodities. So you can see that right now we offer these particular commodities in Umatilla. So, let's say that you wanted to search and get information on, canola. You could just click in canola, or we have microfarm, or, some of the different options, whole farm revenue protection, for example. So that's an easy way of selecting the county that you're in and then figuring out what commodities we already offer. And then once you select the commodity, you'll then hit the button that says View Report. So I have that on the next slide here. So this is what the report will see. You'll have, again, that information at the very top that has the years, the state and the county, and then the commodity. And then you'll have various tabs right below that. You have type practices, units. You'll have a dates tab, a rates tab, if there are any maps associated. So this will give you a little bit of an information. It's typically gives more in-depth information than you might be able to use, but it does give you an idea of the options, the rates that are associated with a particular commodity. Again, your insurance agent will be able to go through this with you, but before you have an agent, if you just wanted to take a look and see what is already available, there's a tab in there that has subsidy factors, because some of these commodities have more of a subsidy than others. So that's just, and again, this is what we call the actuarial information browser. And then this can direct you to information about what is already offered in your county. Next slide. So the next thing I just wanted to show you here is, this is again from our webpage. And then we do have a specific tab for beginning farmers. And so one thing that you may want to check out is this specific portion that are specifically for the beginning farmers. And so I have that with that red arrow there. Next slide. Okay, and as promised, there may be times when you want to produce something that is not available yet in your county. And so we have a way of requesting insurance for crops that are not yet available in your county. So this is different than NAP, which is taken through the Farm Service Agency. But we call this a written agreement. And so these are requests that you work on with your agent to submit to us in the regional office in order to request, again, insurance that's not already available. So you would gather together, you and your agent would gather together to complete the request form, any kind of production records that might be needed for whatever crop it is that you're requesting. So we'll have acreage and production records, and then possibly even confirmation from an agricultural expert that the crop can be produced in the county, unless we already have that information available. So this is just information. I will also, at the end of my presentation, I'm going to put some fact sheets into the chat that you have something else that you can look at regarding both written agreements and then some of our other more popular programs. Next slide. And this here is just a little bit of general information that RMA has regarding the beginning farmer rancher benefits that we have available. The most important one would probably be the additional premium subsidy for whatever crops that you're growing if you do qualify as a beginning farmer rancher. So that's one of the big things that we have available. And then the rest you can just take a look at there on the screen. And then of course, after we're all done, we have the breakout sessions. So I will be available to answer any of the other questions. And then on the next slide, I have my personal information if you do have any questions. And thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. I do appreciate that. And of course, there's always questions that we have with insurance. It starts to get pretty hairy when we get in the weeds. But Anna will be available in the breakout sessions afterwards. So let me go ahead and stop this here. Now, we've got rule development up next. Erica, Serena, are you guys all ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and let you share the screen. Good luck. I struggle with it.
Okay, let's see if I can get it. Can you guys see this?
Sure can.
Okay, perfect. So I am going to be doing a brief overview of the Rural Energy for America program, also known as REAP. So that's what this presentation is. What REAP can fund includes system installations and technical assistance. So a system installation would be something like a renewable energy system and or energy efficiency improvements, whereas technical assistance, we have energy audits, and then we have renewable energy development assistance grants. In terms of the renewable energy systems and energy efficiency improvements, this screen kind of shows some examples of what we could fund. So a renewable energy system might be something like solar, wind, small hydroelectric, et cetera. Whereas an energy efficiency improvement would be an energy efficient upgrade to lighting, heating, cooling, ventilation, something along those lines. And an important note about this is that all of the technology must be commercially available. We can't fund any research and development type things through REAP. And then also another important note is that this is for business use, not residential use. So in terms of applicant eligibility, so who can actually apply to REAP, we have agricultural producers and we have rural small businesses. An agricultural producer would just be an individual or entity that receives 50% or more of their gross income from agricultural operations. And a rural small business is a little bit more complex definition, but it's basically defined by the Small Business Administration's size standards. And basically that amounts to a rural or non-metro area of 50,000 people or less for that rural part. And then for the small part of the small business, they would have to meet SBA size standards. The easiest way that people can see if they're considered rural is to go to this link here on the screen. It takes them to a map where you can plug in your address and see if you come up in an eligible rural area for the program. A little bit more about small businesses. So they have to meet size standards, and the small business also has to be one of these types of entities. So it can be a private for-profit entity, it can be a cooperative, it can be an electrical utility if it has no affiliation with any kind of state or local government. And it can also be a tribal corporation or other eligible tribal entity. And then for agricultural producers, as previously mentioned, it's a little bit more simple definition. It's an individual or entity that receives 50% or more of the gross income from agricultural operations. And then looking at types of financial assistance that we can do with REAP. So we have grants, we have loan guarantees, and then there's the possibility to do a combination of a grant and a loan guarantee. Looking at funding provisions, so the grant share is either 25% or 50% of the total eligible project costs, and that depends on the type of project, whether they can get 25% or 50%. And I'll touch on that in a little bit later in the presentation. But with the guaranteed loans, it's a $5,000 minimum loan amount and up to a $25 million maximum loan amount. So the loan guarantee is geared mainly towards those larger projects that might be needing a guarantee on a larger loan amount. We can guarantee up to 80% for loans, and there's a small fee associated with it. So it's 1% of the initial guaranteed amount, and then annually it's 0.25% renewal fee. And then if their applicant is doing a combination grant and loan guarantee, it's up to 75% of total eligible project costs that we can do on that combination. And then you can also see on the screen the funding provisions for renewable energy systems and energy improvement efficiency grants. So for renewable energy systems, it's project costs, it's a $1 million maximum grant request. And then it's $5,000 maximum for energy efficiency. We have had a few changes in the program recently, effective April 1st. So that includes the biggest changes are to available funding, application deadlines, and then the maximum grant request. So we had a little over $1 billion released at the end of March to fund the next 6 quarterly competitions for REAP. So that's one of the biggest new changes is there's just more money in the program than there's ever been before. And then also the grants can cover either 25% or 50% of total eligible project costs. And that's depending on project type, which we'll touch on. For the grant maximums, it's 500,000 for energy efficiency and $1 million for renewable energy. Another new change is that there are now 6 quarterly competitions through the end of 2024 or through September 2024. Previously, it was just semi-annually, but now the application deadlines are quarterly. So that's a big new change. And applicants are welcome to apply anytime. It's not like a hard deadline. That the deadline just determines when we'll batch up all the applications and score them against each other. And then if an application is not funded in one quarter, it can roll over to all the rest of the competitions within a fiscal year, but it can't roll over between fiscal years. And then in terms of the grant percentage, so project types that can get up to a 50% grant include any energy efficiency project, and then also any project that emits 0 greenhouse gas emissions at the project level, and then any project in a designated energy community, and there's a map for that they can plug in their address and see if they're in one of those communities, and then also any projects submitted by an eligible tribal entity. So those are the projects that qualify for 50%. All the rest of the projects would qualify for up to a 25% grant. So that would include projects such as biomass and biogas projects that don't fit into one of those 50% categories. So that's all I have for the brief overview. If anybody has questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. My email address is here on the screen. And then we also have office hours for REAP every first Thursday of the month. So if you have questions, that's a great time to jump in and get your questions answered. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Serena. I do appreciate it. Works out great. Okay. Awesome. Now, we'll go ahead and do. All right. Now, I've got 2 folks in here that I'm pretty excited to introduce. The first one will be Maya Rose. She's from Business Impact Northwest. And then our second will be Vince Price here from Share Farm. So Maya Rose, why don't you go ahead and take the floor here? I won't steal your thunder or try to say what you do. You know better than anybody.
Yeah, hi everyone. I don't have slides, so it's just me on camera here. But I'm so happy to be here today. I am a food and farm business coach over at Business Impact Northwest. And for those of y'all who don't know, we are a nonprofit organization and community lender who provides access to capital and support services with an emphasis on underserved communities. So by underserved communities, we mean low income, women, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, veterans, and rural communities. And that being said, our doors are open to everyone, even if you don't fit into one of those categories. So in our Food Business Resource Center, which is kind of a branch of our nonprofit and where I work, we specialize in helping food and farm business owners in both Washington and Oregon states. And we really help folks in kind of 3 core ways. So the first is through cohort-based programs. And these pop up kind of seasonally, and we don't actually have one going on right now. But for example, over the winter, we did a small farm business accelerator in partnership with the Washington Department of Ag. And it was kind of a program, 6-month program, where we gave people access to professional services such as accounting, bookkeeping, marketing, as well as peer-to-peer support through farm mentors. So we are hoping to do similar programs in the future, so stay tuned for those. We also offer live and on-demand classes. So for instance, we have a recorded class called the Farmer Finance Series. And I'd especially encourage y'all to check out the first section of that, which is all about getting started with basic cash flows. So such an important part of business and often overlooked one. So definitely, check that out if you can. And then, another example is just a couple weeks ago, we hosted a class about kind of basic shipping logistics. So for anyone who's kind of considering getting into value add production in the near far future, and wanting to reach a community beyond your own. That was a really, really practical presentation. And I'll pop the link for both of those classes in the chat for anyone who wants to take a look. And then the third way that we help folks is kind of our bread and butter, and it is our free one-on-one coaching. And by the way, our programs and our classes are always either free or low cost too. But anyway, in our coaching, we offer guidance on business planning, financial forecasting, or even just getting y'all connected to the right resources or other organizations that are doing things outside our wheelhouse. We work with all stages of business, so don't be shy if you're even just in the idea stage. Like, we are here for that too. And to be honest, I really think that kind of an underrated part of meeting with a business coach is just having that space to kind of verbalize your plans, your ideas for your operation. I just find that in and of itself often brings a lot of clarity for people. So again, don't be shy. Our doors are open and it's totally free, low stakes. And we are so happy to help. So I guess, suffice it to say, we're here to be another way to get support for your operation. And I will drop the link in the chat for how to sign up. Essentially, you're going to go to a page on our website, fill out an intake form, and then you'll be assigned a coach, most likely myself. And at that point, you can sign up for sessions if you'd like. Going through that sign up process will also give you access to our classes that I talked about. So I will put all of that in the chat and also my email address. If you have any general questions or trouble signing up, you're welcome to reach out to me. So I think that was all that I had. And I appreciate y'all having me here today.
Thank you so much, Maya. It's great to hear from you, and it's good to hear that there's somebody up in the area that can help people that, while the USDA might be a little understaffed or overworked, call it what you will, there's still other resources to go to. So thank you for coming on today. It's a pleasure meeting you, and we love your business too. So thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah. Now, next up would be Vince. Vince is a CEO founder of Share Farm. It is an animal. Let me tell you that. I'm excited about what he's got going on. So again, I'll give him the floor and let you talk about it a little bit. Thank you for coming in, Vince.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Listening to the presentation. So I run a small farm in Eastern Washington. I'm in Colbert, just north of Spokane. It's a permaculture homestead. It's not huge, 12.5 acres, but I've leveraged a lot of these opportunities for our farm. We just got awarded a couple months ago the REAP for our business for solar panel installation. We've used CRP, we've used Equip to get greenhouses, add irrigation to our farm. So all the opportunities, heard about before and have leverage, and yep, they work, they help, they're available, and it is kind of just jumping through some hoops to get them, but that's the nature of anything. So Share Farm, we had started Share Farm 2013, wanted to create more access for opportunity to market for producers. And so we had started selling wild crafted items, real small scale stuff, apiary items, mixing honey with stuff, and went to farmers market, sold things at market, realized really quickly that's not a place to make money. It's good for customer interaction, but a lot of producers weren't tracking back office, their ROI. They didn't know the costs involved of participating and what their profitability was going to be. We wanted to create solutions around that. And so we had started out with an app, and it says, this is an easy way to find producers within your area that you can purchase from, get to know where your food's from. And that had grown over the years to where we are now. We had done next day grocery delivery, online ordering, corporate dining, USDA contracting is a multi-state prime now, and launched this new platform just this year focused on farm to institution. And so I do have a presentation, but it's more specific to institutional partners that were showcasing the value of interacting with regional diverse suppliers. And I'll show it to you here. Oh, let's see here. Let me see if I end up in the same. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. God, you guys are way better at that. It's a doozy.
I was hoping that mine actually worked. So I'll just go through this quickly because I know we need some time for the breakout rooms. But Share Farm, it's a social purpose enterprise. So we're using technology to create equitable, sustainable food systems. What do? We facilitate partnerships between diverse, underrepresented farmers, ranchers, fisheries. This is people of color, women, veteran, LGBTQ, and connect them to institutional buyers. So our focus is creating an inclusive food system, incentivizing regenerative growing practices. So our mission is to align economic profitability with social responsibility. And so this, for everyone on the call here, everyone's going to be well aware of this, speaking to the choir, but everyone wants to know more about their food, where it's from, what's in it, how it was grown, what were the growing practices, more importantly, how those growing practices and the supply chain are impacting the environment. And so a lot of institutional buyers have started focusing post-pandemic on this tailwinds market of accessing regional suppliers, but they fall into this problem. They have high minimum volumes, high initial requirements to participate in procurement. They require food safe consistency and that volume. That's a key piece. These producers have not had access to the market before. It's been restricted to them. And so they're not prepared to enter a procurement marketplace without a lot of capital infrastructure. So there's a chicken and an egg problem here. Buyers want to buy from diverse regional suppliers want to sell to larger buyers, don't have the volume, don't have the consistency, and the buyers aren't going to nudge on that. So what we've done is establish a system that provides the bridge between buyers and sellers. So we're looking to do producer empowerment. We want them to have access to new market channel opportunities, a strengthened recession-proof regional food system. We're incentivizing carbon reduction practices to provide that incentive for producers to adopt new growing methods, habits, ideas, and strategies, because the perception now at the buyer level is, yes, I'll buy from these producers if they're doing these practices, if they're using these systems. Producers are not using these systems because they do not know the ROI associated. A producer is not going to go out and get GAP unless they know that they have a buying partner. They're not going to adopt regenerative unless that's part of their core mission at their farm. They're not going to adopt these practices, cover cropping, rotational grazing. We've seen this talking with a lot of producers that we've interacted with. They want to know, why would they do it? They want to be paid if they're going to adopt those practices. So that's something that we've really pushed. Our platform, a buyer comes on, we negotiate premium pricing with them. That's Cisco, Aramark, Gordon Foods, Ahold Delhaize, UNFI. We negotiate a pricing standard that is not for corporate monoculture. It's not for commodity pricing. It is for regional supply of products from diverse producers who are looking to adopt regenerative practices. They're going to grow heirloom and organic. They're going to do rotational grazing and heirloom breeds of products, but they need paid ahead of time to be able to adopt those practices. So that's what we've been focused on, creating these access to. From a buyer's perspective, they want to access diverse suppliers. They want impact reporting. They want to track the exact source of the product through every touch points to its end user. And what we do, we aggregate and batch orders together to make single procurements. So we launch regional pilots with larger buyers that's exclusive to underrepresented producers. So they can have a critical institutional partner and they can make large sales that are aggregated together. Quite simply, this is all demand-based. All the other models that have come forward are supply-based. This is demand-based. We partner with institutional buyers. They pre-fund forecasted demands for next season. Producers can see this open procurement, commit to the individual volumes that they can supply. That total supply is then organized by share farm. So we're leveraging the ability to organize, activate, and deploy product throughout the US in any region by ethnicity, by socio-demographic, by category of product, and get that volume, create those larger volumes to get buyers to commit to it. So far we've had a little success with this. Again, we are a market channel opportunity. We don't have the rest of the supply chain organized. We had launched this in February of this year and secured 2 buying partners, UNFI and Cargill. Right now have a pilot for 2 locations. It's Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, a little bit of East Texas. We've all worked in this space quite a lot. This is just a showcase of our team, what we've been doing, what we're trying to solve. We all have the same goal. We want to create economic and sustainable opportunities. We want producers to have competitive access to market. New emerging producers enter the market, create a system of innovation in the food system that allows small producers to grow, not just producers who already have existing capital infrastructure. So that's about, sustainability is the end focus for us. And it's really tied to this inclusive reporting and social impact reporting that we do, which showcases where the food's from, what's in it, how it was grown, what were the growing practices. Because we're tracking all of these points, we're focused on reducing greenhouse gas emission. We provide these metrics back to buyers: road miles, food waste, spend by category, by ethnicity, by socio-demographic, to promote them into a collaborative system where we're creating stabilized food systems across the nation. So I'll leave it at that. I know we have time to discuss the breakout rooms if there's more questions, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Thank you, Vince. I really do appreciate it. It's cool to see local folks working to make something sustainable and make something accessible for beginning producers. So,
Yep. Thank you.
yeah, you bet. And Vince and Maya, for however much time they have, are going to be jumping into my breakout session here. So feel free to join us if you have any questions for them. And again, I'm not trying to steal your guys' time, Vince. I'm not trying to steal your time, Maya. So as much as you've got, come and join us. But I think at this point, Lauren, we can go ahead and break out into sessions and start getting down to the nitty gritty.